Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another Dragon Ball figure unboxing, and this is a figure unboxing that I have been waiting for so long now. Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally going to get to crack open the SH FIGUARTS Son Gohan Beast from Premium Bandai. Obviously, this is one of the most, if not maybe even the most, highly anticipated figure of this year. Everybody was really looking forward to when SH Figuarts would finally tackle Mr. Gohan Beast himself. And we finally have the figure in our possession. This figure actually came to me quite late compared to when other people got it. Obviously, a lot of people do import it from Japan, so a lot of the people on YouTube who get it early are getting it early because they're getting it from Japan. But obviously for me in the States, I still got it a little bit late because I know a lot of people were telling me in the comments when I posted I finally got this guy, oh, I already got him last week, but I finally have him here. And I am very excited to take a look at him. So I am going to be a little bit cautious when unboxing this man too, because apparently there has reportedly been a bunch of QC issues with this guy as well, a bunch of quality control issues, but we will see. There he is, the big bad boy. I can't wait to take a look at this more in depth. Let's go ahead and take a good look at the box. Obviously, I'm turning off my ring light here because, I mean, look at how that looks with the glare, right? Although it is cool that you can see the shiny text right there, right? Obviously, on the inside of the box, we get a couple of different heads, a couple of different hands, Gohan Beast himself. We get the nice Gohan Beast image on the front of him doing the Makonko Sapo. If we put it up to the side here, we can see a couple of different nice little side shots here. Obviously, Gohan putting his fingers to his forehead, the actual beam effect, so on and so forth. And then on the back, I'm surprised they actually don't have Orange Piccolo on here. But we obviously have Gohan Beast himself with a bunch of different poses and stuff like that, as well as the Bandai Namco logo, and of course a big old sticker here that's covering the Japanese text because of course this is the English release of the figure. And then on the other side it just says Son Gohan Beast. On the top we have the funny smirk, and then on the bottom it is just more paraphernalia. Alright, let's go ahead and crack into this bad boy. I am so excited to open this bad boy up. I have been waiting quite some time to get my hands on this figure, so I am ecstatic to get him. It will be very interesting to see not only how he compares to the regular SH Figuarts Ultimate Gohan, the one that we have been basically taking a look at for months now with all the different accessories that he's gotten from all the different superhero figures. And obviously on this channel we even, ooh, I see it stuck in the plastic. We even got to take a look at the custom, the DL custom Gohan Beast head, right? Ooh, this is kind of cool. Look at this. It gives you the instructions on the little, what would you even call this? Just like the tab for the figure? Well, no wonder that was so hard to get out. That is pretty cool though, because obviously that is saving a lot of paper right there, rather than just putting an extra piece of paper on there when you could just use the space that's already available to you. Good on you, Bandai, for saving the trees a little bit. All right. Wow, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! I'm excited. So let's go ahead, of course, before we take a look at the accessories like usual, let's go ahead and get the big bad boy out. I am very excited about this. Now, the cool thing about this Gohan as well is that he is a slight bit different than the regular Ultimate Gohan. It would have been a little bit scummy on Bandai's part to kind of just give us this figure and not make anything different than the ultimate version, right? Because obviously it is virtually the same body, right? All things considered. Let's also get the official little bit of plastic out of there. Ooh, creaky joints. Okay, well that can either be a good thing or a bad thing from my experience. His arms are very tight. Okay, I'll have to play with this guy a little bit to get the figure loosened up a little bit. Where do I pull the plastic? There we go. I couldn't tell where I needed to get it out of him. That's how you know a figure is official, if it has this little piece of plastic with the same material, because I've seen companies try and replicate that with a lower quality plastic. Okay, so in terms of the body, right? If we're talking Gohan, right, with the difference, the main difference here is all the different battle damage, right? You can see on his leg there, right, he has a little bit of the ripped pants, right? You can see over there on this side, he has a little bit of ripped pants. On his shirt right there, he has the little hole there. So obviously they wanted to differentiate this figure a little bit as well. The edges of his clothes are like a bit more tattered. It's very minimal detail. You can even see it right there, right? Where it kind of looks like a little bit of ripping on the side. That was not present on the Ultimate one. So that is pretty cool that at least they tried to make it a little bit different for sure. So overall, right, let's go over articulation with the boy. This is a very simple, like, SH FIGUARTS figure in terms of, you know, like, articulation. I mean, it's a Saiyan character, right? What do you expect? He's got the full 360 rotation. That hair, by the way, holy cow. Is it even all the way? Yeah, it is in the camera. That is very, very good. I will say, I feel like for everything with this figure, they absolutely nailed the hair 100%. The color is really good. The spikes are really good. They even got that one little middle spike that goes up to the peak right there. Ow, that's kind of sharp. They did a fantastic job on the like spikiness and craziness of this form's hair, so that is pretty cool. Obviously for arm articulation, right, we have the full 360 that you can get right there. My camera is also apparently too encumbered by Gohan's power to focus properly. There we go. Obviously here you can also spin it 360, right? You can get the funny arm movement there, right, at his elbow, right? Obviously the hands will also rotate 360 as well. Same thing on the other arm. Do keep in mind, right, this is a little bit of a butterfly joint action going on here. So if you look in there, right, you can see that you can kind of move the arm out a little bit, and that little bit of like skin colored plastic will appear there, but obviously it's so you can get some more dynamic posing options. And with the legs, right, it is your pretty standard SH FIGUARTS legs for this particular type of body. Although I will say mine, okay, was having a little bit of trouble bending the leg all the way back there, which is kind of interesting. Never really had that problem before. But either way, right, obviously the legs look very nice. And you can get some good posability out of that right there, right? Definitely very, very good. Very good, you know, being able to bend it that far. And of course, it does break the sculpt if you bend it that far, but you can just kind of like put it there and then that looks a little bit better. Obviously for the feet, right, he can spin those bad boys 360, and then he's got the little funny toe articulation right there, which most SH FIGUARTS figures do. I've never really found a use for that before, to be honest with you, but I'm glad that it's there because more options are always good. As well, in terms of crunch, what can he do? That is like, I don't know if that's really his ab crunch. I think he's kind of limited a little bit by the belt, right? You can see that with how the belt is kind of attached to him, it is a little bit loose, right? It's not like completely just stuck where it is, but it does kind of limit him a little bit in terms of leaning down like that. But it's definitely not bad, and obviously he can still, you know, do this. So I think you'll be fine in that department as well. Of course, with the iconic looking up pose, right, that he does at Cell Max, right, you can easily get that. I'm just trying to do like a quick maneuver here. Yeah, see, you can easily get him to do that pose with how they have the neck articulation there, which is very nice. My camera's not focusing. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, overall, I would say he looks really good, right? When it comes to the sculpt, I don't think I really have any complaints about it, right? I think the sculpt overall is really, really good. So, the one thing that I do want to share with you, though, when it comes to this Gohan, that is something important to know if you do plan on getting this figure when you, well, unfortunately, if you are going to be getting this guy, you will have to be getting him on the secondhand market because, of course, he was a Premium Bandai exclusive, and obviously by now Premium Bandai has sold out of this guy. So, if you would like to get him, you'll have to get him secondhand. However, I do think it is important to note, right? If we bring in our boy, the Ultimate Gohan, right? Obviously, this is the superhero one. I currently have like a different combination of accessories on him right now. By the way, I will say the cool thing with Gohan is that because this is the same like general sculpt, you should, and I know this doesn't really like make any sense, I suppose, canon wise, right? You can just kind of pop his head off there. Because this is the same body, right, you should just be able to slap the shoulder pieces on and then put the Gohan beast head back on there. Obviously, I'll have to do a little bit of a better job like getting it on there in a more like I don't know, just like posable way, but obviously just for the sake of this video, right, my camera did not want to focus on that. There we go. You can obviously put him in the cape that comes with one of the gammas if you really want to, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you'd want to do that. I mean, I might, just because I think it looks cool, and it's not a look that we get for Gohan often, but obviously, you know, it's just a neat little thing you can do as well. Besides that, obviously with the Gohan Beast head, let me pull that off real quick. Because it's just, you know, a standard SH FIGUARTS head, you can literally just pop this on the old SH, well, not old, but, you know, the original superhero SH FIGUARTS Gohan body, and there you go. Now you can also use that body if you want to. Not that there's a big difference, right? Like I said, between the two bodies, if I pull this off real quick, you can see that it is basically just the battle damage that is the only difference between the two here. You know, so it's basically the same figure. They just wanted to resell Gohan Beast with a couple of extra different things and whatnot. And obviously, I mean, you know, you could probably assume this, but you can put the other Ultimate Gohan heads and any of the other, like, Gohan accessory heads on the Gohan Beast version of the body if you really want to, too, which is nice. I mean, obviously, it's SH FIGUARTS, so they do this type of stuff all the time. Now, the one thing that I do want to note, let me put the heads back on the correct body so this isn't as confusing for you. The one thing that I do want to note with these two is something very interesting that they decided to do with the Gohan Beast version of this figure in terms of the actual body and quality of the figure itself, okay? So, for the original Ultimate Gohan body, right? With this guy, the top half of his shirt is plastic. This is all hard plastic on this figure, right? What you usually expect from a standard SH FIGUARTS figure, right? The top half of his shirt here, right? This part of his shirt here, right? What surrounds his chest, what surrounds his pecs. That's all plastic, right? I mean, like, you know, that kind of makes sense. However, for the Gohan Beast version of this figure, they actually decided to make this rubber, which is really interesting. You can see that I can actually pull this apart, you know, quite a bit, right? I could push it in a little bit more. I can kind of squish. I hope that's not unfocusing on the camera. Yeah, you can see that. You can see that I can squish this, right? Because it's actually just rubber, right? And it's not like this where, you know, it's just hard plastic. You know what I mean? So, pros and cons of this, right? Because I know you're probably thinking, okay, well, what's the big deal of this? I will say, unfortunately, probably the hard plastic will actually last longer on the figure in the long run as well. I feel like posing this guy with this being like rubber for the top part will actually, again, not really be good for the figure just in general, because keep in mind, right, if you're pushing him like this, right, where you're pushing out his arm, you're now stretching that plastic over the entire body of the figure. Not to mention, I've actually seen, I'm not going to do it myself because I don't want to ruin my copy of the figure, but I have seen people actually completely take the top part of Gohan's shirt off for this figure, kind of giving him like the quote-unquote shirtless Gohan Beast look, which is kind of funny and I know completely unintentional, but it's just because of the fact that the top half is rubber that you could just literally take it off. So my only word of warning with that, right, and it's also just something that I want to make you aware of, you know, if you are going to be buying this product, is just be careful when you're posing this guy not to maybe try and, I guess, just push the rubber on the actual figure to its limits, because you definitely don't want to ruin your figure, especially considering how expensive this guy is at the base price. Why they decided to do this, to be 100% honest with you, I don't know. And ironically enough, I almost think that the rubber looks better on the figure because it gives it a lot more of a look where it actually looks like a shirt, right? Like with these guys standing next to each other like this, right? To me, it looks like a lot more so that Gohan is actually wearing the shirt and it's like over his chest rather than like the plastic that's kind of like holding it almost, you know what I mean? So it's a weird thing because it's like I kind of like how the rubber looks more, but the plastic is definitely better for the figure's integrity and, you know, posability, construction of the figure, all that stuff. So either way, just something that I wanted to make you guys aware of before we move on to the next section of this video. Now, we actually have quite a few accessories to Gohan's name here, which definitely makes sense considering this figure was certainly a little bit more on the expensive side. Tamashii was definitely going to try and cram in as many accessories into this bad boy to make it worth the price, especially considering you're kind of just buying the same figure again, but with a different head. Obviously, they're going to put in a bunch of different stuff here. So let's go over each individual item here and take a look at what we got. First of all, as per usual, we have our first set of head and hands. Obviously, this is the standard one that comes on the body. Ironically enough, Tamashii technically doesn't consider this as an accessory, as if when you look on the page, right, on the Premium Bandai website, it only says 4 additional faceplates when there's technically 5 because they don't count the one that's on the body. I don't know if you technically count that too, but I don't know. I understand what they mean because it's supposed to be like in addition to what's on the figure. Regardless though, the standard regular old face and the fists, I think it looks all right. And I will say, one thing that will be pretty consistent with the faces that come as a part of this set, and in terms of me giving my thoughts about these and whatnot, is that the eyebrows feel really, really blocky. I know that's kind of ironic because that's sort of just Dragon Ball design, but they feel a little bit too blocky in this case. I feel like they feel a little bit too thick, and definitely to a lesser extent the standard Gohan face here. But especially with the upcoming face here, we have the screaming head as well as the kind of little bit of a grip hands right here. The eyes definitely feel a little bit too small, I guess. Like they just feel like they're very much so sunken in his head. And I really feel like that they should have given him a lot more of a, I don't know, just zoom in on the eyes, because it's not like the worst thing that I've seen, but they definitely feel really small. Ironically enough, the only one that I feel like doesn't kind of have that problem is the gritting teeth face. And as well with it, we have these standard battle hands on display. These kind of hands are always included in Dragon Ball type of figures. Of course, these are the typical like battle stance kind of pose, you know, that like Goku and Vegeta and Yamcha, whenever they do their initial pose, right, they kind of have this sort of thing going on. With this face, ironically enough, this is the one that I think that the eyes are actually pretty big on. But the eyebrows on this one, oh my gosh, bro. You could see those bad boys from a mile away. For some reason, the eyebrows on this particular faceplate are just so incredibly thick. And I feel like it almost makes this figure feel kind of like a bootleg, to be honest with you. And it's not obviously a bootleg entirely, I just mean this particular faceplate almost feels kind of bootleggy. And I will say, regarding all of the faces in general, except for basically the last Gohan Beast one that we're going to take a look at here, I feel like they're almost a little bit too, I don't know, I don't know quite the right word to use, like stale, static type of thing. Like they don't feel dynamic enough in their expressions. And I mean, it is just a bunch of expressions that Gohan made in the movie, but the faces don't feel expressive enough, I think is the best way to put it. I don't know why that is the case, but it feels like they just really did not capture that with the main couple of these faces. Now, I will say the face that I really, really like is the final Gohan Beast face we have here, the grinning face. Obviously, this is a super iconic moment in Superhero when Gohan first transforms and is looking up at Cell Max, and then of course Cell Max punches him, right, and he just kind of moves the hand away. Such a cool moment, and obviously this faceplate looks really, really good. A fantastic job on not only capturing Gohan's likeness here, but really getting this expression down pat. I will say, this is the only one where I feel like these really tiny eyes kind of work pretty well. I still feel like they could definitely be a little bit bigger because they are very, very small on this figure. But I feel like if any of them were to stay the same, this is probably the one that I would be okay with. I think that this face is definitely a very, very good job. Definitely the best one for me personally. And obviously for our hands here, we also have the open palm hands. It's interesting that they included both of these, as obviously open palm ones and the ones that are like sort of open, like a little bit of a grip, are very, very similar to each other. I mean, I guess they're both in like every Dragon Ball figure under the sun, but still. The other face accessory that we do actually get here is a bonus faceplate for the original SH FIGUARTS Superhero Ultimate Gohan. Of course, this faceplate is in reference to when Gohan first transforms into Gohan Beast, and you have the reference to Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. This scene is so cool, and I think that they did a really, really good job with the faceplate here, obviously getting that really angry look for Gohan. And honestly, this might be the best looking faceplate out of all of them, ironically enough. And I know it is really, really really hard to see because obviously the eyes are super, super tiny, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to capture this on camera for you. Maybe I'll have to see if I can't get one of the promotional images for this face, but they do try and capture the swirl that is in Gohan's eyes for this, and I think they do a pretty good job. Obviously, with how small the eyes are, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell anyway, but nonetheless, I still think they do a very, very good job with this one. And obviously, this is a great bonus accessory for Ultimate Gohan, right? We've had a bunch of the different heads by now, right? We've had like the end of the movie one, the one where Gohan is wearing his glasses, right? The Super Saiyan one. This really felt like, honestly, probably the last one that I really would have wanted out of this figure. Ironically enough, some other superhero figures still have some other heads, but this is the only one that I could really think of off the top of my head. Like, yeah, I would really, really want this as an option for my Ultimate Gohan, so pretty cool. As well, with Gohan here, in terms of his hands, he does also come with a crossed arm piece. Now, I'm sure that you are probably wondering why I don't have this particular accessory actually attached to my Gohan. And that is because I was informed by one of my figure collecting homies, shout out to the boy Fitzula on Twitter, that apparently it is really, really difficult to get these arms actually on the figure, and not to mention get the arms that are originally on the figure back onto the figure after you attach this particular set of arms. And not only that, in the comments of this particular tweet, there was actually some people saying that not only were they afraid of the arm pegs breaking, but apparently there were some reports of Gohan Beast himself actually having some breaking problems with the arm pegs for people trying to put the crossed arm piece onto Gohan. So with that being the case, as much as I really want to show you this for obviously the sake of the video, I also don't want to break my figure. Obviously, I would be careful with this sort of thing, but at the same time, I would just rather be safe than sorry. I really apologize about this one because usually when it comes to videos like this, I'm gung-ho about it and just kind of do it anyway, but especially this being Gohan Beast, I'd really rather not break this figure. So I apologize on that one, but with that being said, it is also something good to know if you do decide to get this figure. I would personally recommend not to, you know, try and put the crossed arm piece onto Gohan. And not to mention, with this being rubber, right, and not just hard plastic, I would imagine that you would probably have a, you know, easier time ruining the little shoulder pieces that Gohan has with trying to put this piece onto the figure. So unfortunately, that is not going to be a picture from me that's on the screen. It's going to be whatever I can find from the good wide internet. And we move on to our final accessory here. Now, obviously, this is a really, really cool accessory to be included. Of course, this is the special beam cannon. And this actually looks really, really cool. I love the little bit of the blue plastic that they used for this bit. It looks really, really good. And it's cool that it actually comes with a stand. I feel like sometimes with these figures, they give you this cool effect piece and you're like, cool, how am I supposed to stand it up? And they actually give you a stand that you can use to prop up the special beam cannon, which is really cool. And not to mention, it is kind of interesting that they also just have Gohan's severed hand attached to the special beam cannon effect, rather than giving you a hand that would actually like just attached to it normally. It's actually like fused to the piece. As you can see, you can look on the bottom here and see the disgustingness that's very uncanny at the bottom. But obviously, it looks good when he's firing it because it looks like it's just a part of his hand. And they do give you a special beam cannon hand, which interestingly enough, right, is actually the same hand, just, you know, without the special beam cannon effect attached to it, which makes sense because obviously you're supposed to be able to replicate the pose without actually needing to have the beam effect at play, which is nice, right? It's cool to see. It is a little bit weird because it almost feels like a little bit of a dupe accessory, I guess, but at the same time, like, how would they have engineered that to be able to just work with the main piece, unless you could maybe like stick the fingers into the special beam cannon, but that really wouldn't look as good because obviously it's supposed to be coming out of his fingers. So I think that this is definitely a good compromise for sure, even though it is a little bit weird looking with the hand. And ironically enough, the tones, the skin tones on the two special beam cannon hands are actually a little bit different, which is kind of weird. I mean, it doesn't really look like that jarring when either one is attached to the figure, but it is just definitely something interesting to note that it is definitely not the same accessory piece. One last thing before we move on to the size comparisons here, there is one more thing that I wanted to mention regarding the faceplate specifically, and I suppose in proxy also his head, both of which are kind of not related, but also I guess take place on the same thing on the figure. With the faceplates, I will say you definitely are going to be pushing these back a lot, I feel like, because I do notice as the figure is sitting here or I'm holding it and trying to change out the faceplates, a lot of the time the figure tends to do one of these, and the gapping will kind of get a little bit bad on his head like this, where you can really see the kind of indent of where the ears should go. Obviously, I'm forcing it to happen right now from this particular angle, but you can push it back into place and it will look a little bit better. But I think it's just because of how heavy this particular hair is that it kind of makes everything sag a little bit, and especially if you dip his head like this, right, you can then see the gapping begin to take form. So you're probably going to have to be pushing in the head a little bit. Maybe making the pegs a slight bit bigger would help this problem, but it is just something that I figured I would note with this figure because it's something that I noticed in my time playing with it for this video. As well, the only other thing that I want to note is about the hair sculpt. I will say, I do think they did a very good job with it, and the profile of it from this side looks basically exactly how it does on the movie's artwork for how this hair is supposed to look, with it kind of spiking out from the back of Gohan's head. But I will say, it does look a little strange from the front profile. I mean, to be fair, the form does look a little bit strange from every profile, to be honest, but I feel like it's almost a little bit too, like, condensed on the sides, and it doesn't, like, spike out enough, I feel like. As well, the other thing is, it definitely has a weird thing where I feel like it's lopsided to the left. From the side profiles, right, you can't really tell. It just kind of looks normal. Ironically enough, this side looks a lot more spiky than this side. Like, it feels like there's a lot less spikes down here on this side than there is on this, which is kind of weird, honestly. But I think that exact type of effect, honestly, with there being a little bit more spikes towards the bottom and not as many towards the bottom here on this side, leaves the hair looking a lot lopsided, right? Like, I feel like his head is almost leaning this way when realistically that's not the case, right? Obviously, I have the head just straight onto the camera, but it looks to me like the hair is almost leaning this way, or it kind of like cuts off on this side, and there's more like empty space on his hair over here than there is on this side, which I guess is true, right? Obviously, there's not as many spikes on the bottom over there that there is over there, excuse me. So it kind of leaves this head feeling a little bit more lopsided, I suppose. So I guess maybe you would say the hair, because technically that is what that is, but it's just something that I wanted to point out with this figure. It's not really that big of a deal, I suppose, but I kind of noticed it in the original production images, and I really couldn't put my finger on what was the issue, and I guess that's it. Now that I have it in hand, I can safely say that that is definitely what was kind of giving that illusion, right? Even with like the extra spike right here, right? You can see that there's just this one that really, even from the front, kind of makes the left side of his hair feel a lot more heavy and a lot more dense than this side that has a lot more of these longer spikes. I'm not sure if it's just them trying to replicate the art as best as they can, or, you know, kind of using scenes from the movie where his hair is flowing or something like that, but it definitely feels a little lopsided to me. Let me know in the comment section below, though, because I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Alrighty, let's go ahead and do our usual size comparisons. As per usual, we got to bring out our two standards. Always blowing the dust off these bad boys. We have the Ichiban Kuji Gotenks and the WCF Super Saiyan Blue Dokkan Battle Goku. Obviously, this is your pretty standard SH FIGUARTS sized figure, right? There's nothing too crazy about our boy in the size department, besides, obviously, this hunk of junk right on the top of his cranium. Of course, this definitely gives him a lot more length than he would have normally. Ironically enough, it's a little bit harder to see with him standing straight forward. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to tilt him sideways. There we go, right? So you can kind of get a better look at how much the hair actually gives him. I would say it's just under the 7-inch mark, even on camera. That looks just about right. I would probably round it up to 7, but it is definitely more like 6 3/4 inches, somewhere around there. So a pretty decent sized SH Figuarts figure, but again, I mean, it is quite literally just because of the giant chunk of plastic that's attached to my man's cranium. That is the main reason why he has all of those extra inches of height on him. It'll be interesting to see how he scales with Orange Piccolo in person. I have seen a bunch of videos of people already doing that, but obviously with this guy, we now have to bring out all of the superhero figures that we own up until this point. Of course, we have the Ultimate Gohan that we've been taking a look at throughout this video. I do have the new Beast transformation head on him that we took a look at in this video. Of course, we have the standard SH Figuarts Piccolo, right? Gotta bring this bad boy out. Still taller than Gohan, by the way, which is definitely accurate to how this should be, I feel like. We have Gamma 1, of course, right? We took a look at the Gammas in a previous video. Hopefully this is focused because this is going to be a lot for the camera to take in. And of course, we have the boy Gamma 2 as well. Not to mention, with all of these guys up here on the stage, the final figure that we have, little tiny figure herself. She can kind of go right there between Gohan and Piccolo. We of course have Pan, and I gotta say, by golly, ladies and gentlemen, holy cow, do all of these figures look so awesome together. That is one thing that I always gotta give SH Figuarts, is I feel like they always knock it out of the park with releasing these figures that feel like they are all kind of a part of the same set. And I suppose they are in that kind of regard, but especially with these superhero figures, obviously all of them are supposed to be from the same movie, and it definitely feels like that looking at it on the shelf. I feel like I'm watching the film, just look at these pieces of plastic stand on my desk here. This is so cool to see all of these different characters interact. Obviously, it is really, really awesome to see how far we've come when it comes to the SH Figuarts superhero line, as well, of course, starting with just the original Ultimate Gohan and Piccolo, and of course, Goku and Vegeta getting to the point where we now have the final forms. It is kind of crazy to think that the original Ultimate Gohan came out like at least a year ago, and we're only now, I mean, obviously Japan got him a little bit earlier, but here in the States, we're only now getting the Gohan Beast superhero marketing at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. But overall thoughts on this particular figure, I think in terms of the body, right, they definitely did a very good job. I really, really like the fact that they tried to differentiate this figure a little bit from the original Ultimate Gohan, because obviously they could have quite literally just used the same body again and then slapped a new head on it and then sold it as a completely new figure, right? Because that is definitely something that Bandai would do. But all that being said, I am very happy that they gave him some battle damage, because obviously it also fits more to the scene of the movie. Now, the parts of the figure that obviously kind of have some issues, right? The joints being a little bit tight, there being some reports of potentially when you're using the arms crossed accessory, obviously the pegs breaking. None of that is good, and it's pretty inexcusable, especially from a website called Premium Bandai. Not to mention the whole thing with the rubber shirt on this figure is definitely a bit of a weird choice for me, because I don't think Tamashii has ever done that before. If they have, you can definitely correct me in the comments, but at least every SH Figuarts figure that I've ever looked at on YouTube or online or owned myself has never had any kind of rubber clothing to that extent, right? There's been like pieces of it to kind of allow for some more articulations in certain area, but I feel like I've never just seen it as the primary piece of clothing. So it is quite interesting. I will say it is a little bit of a weird choice, because like I said, I feel like in the long run, it certainly won't last as much as this hard plastic. And of course, like I talked about in the beginning of the video, the hair being a little bit lopsided definitely just feels a little bit off for me. I feel like maybe they're just trying to reference something specific from the movie or something like that, or maybe they're trying to use the official art and they're looking at it like that, but it definitely makes the figure feel a little bit weird. It's definitely not anything that's like a deal breaker for me, but it just definitely, looking at it, makes me feel a little bit trippy when I'm looking at it. It's kind of like a trick on the eyes, not a collage. What is that called? Oh, optical illusion. That's the word I was thinking of. Good job, brain. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think of the boy SH Figuarts Gohan Beast. I am very excited to have this figure in my hands. I've definitely been looking forward to this guy for a long time. Does he quite live up to the hype? Well, I would say with probably some of the QC issues and with the decisions that was made with this figure along the way. Maybe not as much as when he was initially announced, but I am definitely still happy to have him in my collection. And I think overall he still looks really, really good. He definitely looks fantastic next to the rest of these guys as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. And I will catch you in the next one. Dokkan Assets out. Peace.